Heather Moxie and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be filled with more Valentine's related DIYs, except these Valentines are specifically for teachers and students. I'm actually going to be giving these to the teacher that I work closely with and the students that I tutor, and the best part is they're both really easy to make, super inexpensive, and really sweet and unique gifts. The first DIY I'm going to show you is for your teachers, and it's actually sort of a two-in-one. It is this custom card and potted plant. I made my card using PicMonkey. You can use any service that you'd like. You can make the card by hand. It just really depends on the look that you're going for. I did a similar card for my other Valentines that I'll be giving to my best friends, and it's basically the same process. You just log on to PicMonkey and then choose the designs that you like. If this is a little bit too fast, you can slow the video down, but for the sake of this video, I had to kind of speed it up. You can also go check out my last Valentine's Day DIY video, and it will show you a little bit more of an in-depth process of how I work PicMonkey and how to use it. But one of my favorite things about PicMonkey is that it's really intuitive, and even if you've never used it before, making something like this is actually really simple. So I basically just went through, picked my overlay, and decided on my font types, and then just went through and changed the way I arranged everything and the sizing of all of my words. I went ahead and added these cute little heart overlays just to kind of make it a little bit more Valentine's Day. I actually got this idea from Pinterest, and I believe it's supposed to be a Teacher Appreciation Day gift. I figured I would tweak it just a little bit for Valentine's Day so that I could give it to the main teacher that I work with. And then once you're done with your design, you can crop out any of the extra space and save it to your computer. I took my design to Walgreens and had it printed out using their photo center just like I did in my last video, and it ended up printing with that extra space that I don't actually need, so I went ahead and cut it out and then attached it to this little photo clip that I picked up at Michael's. And then I was able to move on to the second part of this DIY, which is the potted plant with the ruler design. This part is really simple and can be done with any plant that you'd like. It's actually one of the easiest and cutest DIYs I've ever done. All you're going to need is a chalkboard pot, painter's tape if you need it, ModPodge, and some yellow acrylic paint, and of course a foam brush. For the paint, you can do this one of two ways. You can put the paint directly onto your pot like I do because I'm lazy, or you can get a little dish if you want to have a little bit more control. The main thing that you want to cover is the top rim or edge of this pot, and if you do travel below that, just make sure to wipe it off as soon as possible so that the paint doesn't dry. Depending on what type of yellow you use, this may take more than one coat. The yellow acrylic paint that I used was more of a pastel yellow, so it did take about 2 to 3 coats to cover the black pot completely. It just depends on the look that you're going for, and in between coats, just make sure that you allow each coat time to dry, and if you'd like, you can move on to the inside edge of the pot. I decided to cover this because I wanted to see the yellow all the way around, especially when I had the plant in. Once the paint's dry, you can move on to the next step of the process, and I actually printed out a realistic size ruler because I am going to be giving this to a teacher, and I want to make sure that the inch lines that I draw are actual inches and not just random chicken scratch. So I just held my paper ruler down, and with a pencil I went around and marked all of the inch lines. And you can do this for every single line if you like, but I was mainly focused on the inches, and using a paint marker I just went ahead and traced over the lines that I made before I did anything else. Once your lines are made, you can go around and start filling in your inch marks, and I did this a little bit towards the bottom edge so that things didn't feel smushed together. Afterwards, I went through and marked the half-inch marks. These I didn't go through and try to be very specific with. I just wanted to make sure that they were mostly in the middle so it didn't throw off the whole look. If you're unhappy with any of your lines, or you made a few mistakes like I did, you can go through with your paint and just cover them up and let each layer dry until you can no longer see black marker. After everything's had a little bit of time to dry, you can go in with your trusted ModPodge and cover the painted layer. This step isn't absolutely necessary, but I do highly recommend it because this is a potted plant. It will be exposed to water on a regular basis, and you want to make sure that your design is protected and that this gift will last a long time. And I actually went ahead and put a thin layer of Mod Podge on the inside as well to keep the paint from flaking off. Once everything is dry, you can move on to the next step of potting your plant. You can use any type of potting soil that you like. I just picked up this inexpensive bag from Walmart, and of course you can use any type of plant that you like, but remember that if your teacher is going to be keeping this in their classroom, it may not be exposed to very much light for long periods of time, so I chose a succulent because they tend to require less care and water than your average flower, and I honestly just want to make sure that whatever I give my teacher doesn't die in 3 days, so a succulent is a pretty safe bet. And once you're done, you have this cute little potted plant and custom card for your teacher. The second DIY I'm going to show you how to make are these melted crayon Valentines for your students or classmates. These are actually the coolest things to make in the world. I'm 23 years old and I was fascinated. What you're going to need is a pan, a heart-shaped mold, some crayons, and glitter crayons if you want a little bit of sparkle in there. This DIY works really well if you have broken crayons lying around. I didn't have any of those, unfortunately, and so I actually took a trip to Michael's and found this one box of 64 crayons that was extremely damaged, and I actually was able to get it at a discounted price because a lot of the crayons were broken and some even had water damage, but because I was going to be melting them down, none of that mattered. First thing you're going to want to do is remove the paper from every single one of your crayons, and this process will go a lot faster if you use a sharp object like an X-Acto knife. Afterwards, you're going to want to break all of your crayons into smaller pieces and sort them into similar colors so that when they melt, they don't just become this murky, awkward color. And before adding colors to my mold, I went ahead and broke a glitter crayon of a similar color so that the glitter would show up in the front of the crayon. Place them in the oven until they're completely melted, and what you end up with should be this tie-dye, melted, gooey mess. While those are drying, you can move on to the next part of this DIY, which is the cards. For this, you'll just need some scrap paper, a ruler, and a marker. I wanted to make my cards look a little bit like an envelope, so using my ruler, I just drew a few lines, and they didn't have to be perfect because a big portion of them are going to be covered by the hearts. You just draw a triangle at the top portion of your envelope and offset your ruler just a little bit and connect separate lines from the bottom, and attach your crayon heart with a dollop of hot glue. Before attaching the crayon hearts to any of my cards, I went through and wrote a little message on each one, and it just says, "Color your heart out, Valentine," which I think is so sweet. You can do this any way you like. I just went through and did this to all my cards with different color pens that matched the hearts. Once everything is written out and you have hearts attached to your envelopes, your Valentines are ready to go. And there you have it, 2 unique little DIYs for your teachers and students, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see more of my upcoming DIYs, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with my little adventures and future projects. Until next time, I'll see you guys next weekend. Bye!